of the impossible. In our first story, we saw how Mary and Martha remained trusting in Jesus, despite how everything seemed pretty hopeless. The next story, we looked at Samson. Samson was not quite as steadfast as Mary and Martha had been, and so the story got a bit messy because of this. Samson was dedicated to God, and he was a Nazirite. And the vows that the Nazirites took were to never cut their hair, to not touch alcohol that was made from grapes, and to not touch a dead body. Because Samson was dedicated to God, God gave him exceptional strength. He was given strength by the Holy Spirit, and the purpose was that he was to defeat the Philistines because they had taken over from the people of Israel. Now Samson was not as diligent as he should have been in keeping his vows. For one thing, he took honey from the dead carcass of the lion. And that was a dead body. He should not have touched it. He did it when he was on his way down to Philistia. And it weakened him. But he was also very able to be manipulated by love. And when he married a Philistine woman, she was able, by just sort of nagging him and crying and carrying on, to make him give her the answer to the riddle that he'd put. And in doing so, then he was the one who had to give the Philistines the clothing that he had promised. But the way he did it was to actually kill some Philistine men and take their clothing from them and give them to the people who'd answered the riddle. And so this started great hostility. Had he not given in to his wife, told her the answer, God would have had victory, but he would have had it without bloodshed. So the Philistines might have been annoyed about having to give away some of their wealth, but there wouldn't have been any violence. Despite his weakness and his breaking of his vows, God still strengthened him, so the Philistines were not able to capture him. Every time they tried to bind him up, he just broke the bonds or whatever they tied him with. But his attraction to the Philistine women was a weakness again, and he married Delilah. And Delilah was the one who managed to coax it out of him that his strength came from this vow, and the vow was that he should never shave his head. So she organised that while he was asleep, his head was shaved, and he became weak. They were able to capture him. Because he was captured, he was blinded, he was put to work like a mule grinding grain in the prison. Seemed like a defeat of God's plan. Samson had finally been captured. But even when we are disobedient and careless, God can still come through. Now, had Samson remained strong and obedient, then God would have had victory over the Philistines, and very likely Samson would have lived. But even so, God used the situation to show that he was God, that he had the ultimate victory. Lessons for us? God's plan works much better if we remain obedient, if we trust him. But if we fail, it's not the end. God can still come through, but it is likely to be a bit more messy and probably a bit more costly to ourselves.
God will make a way where there seems to be no way. He works in ways we cannot see. God will make a way for me. He will be my guide. Hold me closely to his side. With